So thank you so very much for being here tonight for this session on breaking through your genealogical brick walls with me, Deborah Brown. The partners that I have for the project I'm going to be sharing with you tonight is going to be the Honoring Our Ancestors Project, which is a project to do exactly that. Find very unique and creative ways to bring honor to our ancestors that we identify, and a not-for-profit, for-profit entity organization called Block Builders Academy. So through these initiatives, the goal is to try to find unique funding streams for the different projects that we are working on in genealogy, especially when we need a strong 501c to do that. So by partnering this project and the initiatives that I'm going to present tonight with Block Builders Academy, you will find that it's a very unique way of being able to bring this information to you. So why are you here? So I'm going to start with the basic questions. Why are we here? What are we looking to do? So you probably have been researching your family tree or doing research for someone else. You've gotten close, but then we keep hitting these brick walls. You might have seen that other researchers are distantly related to you, and no matter what platform you used, like Ancestry, GEDmatch, or even DNA Painter or others, you just can't figure it out. You have DNA matches that connect to you on your maternal line and your paternal line, and you don't understand how or why. You've been researching for years, and it just seems as if your breakthrough is not around the corner. So the first question I tend to ask is, have you found your connection to the enslaver? So for those of us who have, we found at least one enslaver, and we've been able to connect our 1870, 1880 ancestor who was born during slavery to them. You discovered your ancestor was mulatto, or more, Melungeon or Quadroon, but basically they had a white father, and even in some instances, they very well could have had a white mother. Or you haven't found your 1870 ancestor, but you are still related to European ancestors or other non-African or African-American family, or you have a white parent or both parents. Regardless of these scenarios, this conversation tonight is still for you. Now, what will you learn from this session? What is it you're going to get out of tonight's session with me? You will learn a new way of researching your DNA matches, a clearer understanding of how to interpret your DNA matches, or a more enhanced way, let me say that. Your DNA match connects to you through more than just one or two or even three of the pedigree lines that you see in their tree. The DNA prediction you see in these platforms are not as accurate as you are interpreting them, or they are presenting that match to us. And clarification of your DNA match connections in GEDmatch. After tonight, you will think about your DNA matches very differently. So the project that I'm bringing to you is the breaking through this brick wall, but the methodology that I want to talk to you about is under this acronym HRF, the HRF or HR framework, Historical Reconstruction Framework. How we will be able to do the research that we need to try to trace and find our enslaved ancestors through this historical reconstruction network that exists, but we're really not tapping into it the way we should. So, Deborah Brown, the researcher, I will be the case study that I present to you my findings. And I will show you why you're facing these challenges. So the first thing I'll show you is my tree itself. So in my tree, this is my pedigree chart for me to 5 generations. My father was Jamaican. I discovered 3 years ago. So I understand my connection to him. He's Europe and Jamaica. The UK, Canada, and Jamaica. I clearly understand and have figured out how to map them. My mindset they're a different line, different than my grandmother and my mother. So my Alabama bullock pipe barber making connection is my maternal line. Now, so that was the Jamaican England side. This is my maternal line. Now, the next question is, how many enslavers have I connected to these grandparents? Every single last one of them. Every single last one of my ancestors has a white enslaver that was a parent to someone in their line. And of all of the white enslavers, or that were, how many of them were from Europe? Every single last one. Every single last one. And so, of course, the further back you go, we tend to see other origins. I'm going to talk about that. But for me, getting to 1870 and finding the parents of the people you see somewhere was someone white. And of course, I got to use them to figure out who was the African-American female, because all of them were men thus far. Let's talk about DNA. And we'll start with ancestry. So for me, based on Ancestry's projection to me, I paid the DNA amount $99. I've been on Ancestry now 23 years. That's how long I've been on Ancestry. So they presented my DNA to me. I knew they kept changing the calculations and they kept changing my origination. So as of today, yesterday, I'm 93% African, as defined by them. I'm 5% from England, Wales and England, Ireland, Cornwall, which is England, and the East Midlands. So my more recent that popped up this year was Italy. They also say I'm Germans in Russia. This is new to me also. Now, Ancestry does have the ability to show you a change. So from 2024 to 2025, which was last year, I lost some calculations, but the bigger ones, as you can see in 2024, I did not have Northern Wales or England. 2025 I did. I had Scotland, which completely made sense based on my research. But in 2025, they say I lost my Scottish ancestry. East Midland was a new connection. Donegal, Ireland was new. So my point in all of this, you will see the same for yourself. I work in IT. So what happens is as new developments occur and arise, they're calculating our numbers. They're reassessing. And I get that. I would assume the reassessment opened up more things than it removed. Now, the DNA origins and regions in Ancestry, how they present us challenges. You can't see all of your results. We all know that. So Ancestry adds a layer called timber. It's an algorithm for identifying portions of DNA that are unusually common within a population. And those segments can be shared by many people because of population history rather than because two people share a reasonable, recent genealogical ancestor. We must learn to pay attention to what they share. They're sharing that small centimorgan cannot get you to a recent ancestor. So they've made a decision, and based on some of their customers not wanting us to see all of that, to remove them from our presence. So we only really get to see down to 8 centimorgans. What about the others? Okay. 23andMe. 23andMe, I love being on different platforms. I'm on a bunch of different platforms as well because my goal was to find every enslaved ancestor I could that could get me back to Africa. So that means I got to go through the enslavers to figure out who they were because I want to know who was the first initial African that is my ancestor. That is what my research goals and desires are. Not saying that I don't want to know in Africa. They're breaking this down to me. I want to know who was it that connects me here in America was from Africa. So in 23andMe, they're about close. They say I'm a part of the Igbo people. Ancestry doesn't tell me that. I'm 90.9% African. European, I clearly know because I found those ancestors, those enslavers, right? Scottish, Welsh, Irish. So now Irish is consistent between Ancestry 23andMe, but now they're saying Belgian, Southern Dutch, Germany. So I'm 7.1% English. Asian, and it was interesting for me to see this Asian connection. I see Asia in here and in GEDmatch. Filipino and Austronesian, Chinese Dai, and at the bottom is Southern Mesoamerican. So I'm like, these are small, but they present, but what is Southern Mesoamerican? I'll tell you, my grandmother used to say to me that she was part Creek. If you're in Bullock Pike Barber, you know that that was the Creek native area, along with the Cherokee. So there's a possible cross. So I'm constantly doing this because I'm trying to find that Native American connection. Many years ago in Ancestry, I had 1% Native American. And then a few years after that, and since, I no longer see that as an origination. But in 23andMe, Mesoamerican is, I was like, what nationality? I hate it. I'll tell you, I hated social studies. But it is indigenous people whose ancestral homelands were in a historical region called Mesoamerica. And it's so interesting because that's going from Mexico down to the Central America, down to the Gulf. So it's interesting to see that bridge. Let me not forget, I'm part Jamaican. So, and as well as Europe and Canada. So it's so cool to be in multiple platforms with the DNA, with the information, so that we can use more than one platform to understand who we are. Oh, but I'm gonna break that down tonight. Tonight, I'm gonna break that down. Understand how others match you. So after we figure out the matches and all of that, I can tell you everyone on this call I'm related to. We've said that to one another. We've messaged each other. So in Ancestry, I have 7,000 maternal matches, 2,500 paternal matches, people on both sides, people they have not assigned. So we can clearly see the breakdown. So I have about 10,000 matches. Some people have more than me. Some people have less. When I look at a match, how we all tend to do, especially when you have, you're paying higher to look at your matches. Now you have to go up to 300 or 150. Now you're investing to do this research to try to figure out your matches. And you still look at that match and say, how? How? I see England. I get that. I found my ancestors, right? So when we're working with our enslavers, we're seeing where they were from or their fathers. They came from England or wherever. Here, and this particular person is part Irish. So now that's making sense. Still don't know how. Look at his tree. No surname makes sense to me, but he's related. And so all you do like me, next. All we can do is say next, right? Why existing tools are challenging when trying to understand your pre-1870 matches or information. GEDmatch. We're paying $100. If you are a paying customer today, you can pay $100. But in September, they're going up to $15 a month or $150 a year. This is an investment. I've been doing this 23 years. I've been on GEDmatch now about 3 of them. Of course, we start with free. We always like to start with free until we can't get where we want to go with free. We invest. I've been investing, and it still isn't clarifying for me my match. It does, and it doesn't. And let me go back. What I do love about GEDmatch, they will show you of this match. This is the generation where your ancestor exists. So that's so cool. That helps us to be able to see our common ancestor. So I look at that fourth generation, I look at that sixth generation, I look at their tree, I look at my tree. Of course, we know some people don't have a tree, some people haven't shared their tree, so you can't understand that match. The lower you go in GEDmatch, which I love them for that, the lower you go, the more you're related to absolutely everybody. And you're still left trying to figure out how. I can get in GEDmatch all day. Now I already know I'm related to you. Doesn't matter if you share your GEDmatch ID with me. I'm going to be related to you. We're going to share the same matches. So being connected or a match is not the question. So what I love about GEDmatch, when I talked about you can lower the centimorgans, the only place you can lower the centimorgans below 7 is when you join a group. When you join the group, there's many different ways to evaluate your match. I'll do a quick synopsis about DNA. So for our 23 chromosomes, we have so many centimorgans, and those centimorgans have segments. So for chromosome 1, which is what I was analyzing, the segments start and the segment end. So the segments go up to the millions in quantifiable numeric numbers. So starting at position 196 million, 099,023, starting at that position and going over to 215 million, this is where my cousin matches me. Then my other cousin matches me. Then a gentleman named Charlie Jones. Then Megan and Amanda and Kim Roper. And if you know Dante, Dante's mom. So we're matching in overlap on this position. Yes, this is low centimorgans. And so I'm that person. Just because it's low doesn't mean I shouldn't figure it out. Yes, it may be challenging, but I don't throw my centimorgans away. I just have to understand them. DNA Painter. DNA Painter is another tool. You pay $50 a year, but they will give you one tree to do for free. In DNA Painter, you want to take your GEDmatch quantifiable numbers, chromosomes and segments, and those numbers, and you copy them and you paste them into DNA Painter, and it creates for you this beautiful chart. I took the time to copy my project matches. I probably normally went down to 2 or 3 centimorgans, and I copied them here. And now all of a sudden, all these little ranges of colors, I assign a color to you. This is how people are matching me. I was like, apparently I know I can't get to 100, but how far can I go? I got to 44% of my DNA is created based on the cousins using GEDmatch and DNA Painter. This is the same presentation. I'll show you the next slide. So what happens is you take their GEDmatch information, you put it in DNA Painter, it plops those segment starts, those segment ends on the chromosomes. So Emily, which many of us know from Alabama and many other different platforms or Facebook groups we are in, this is how she matches me. Some at very low, some a little higher. But this is how she matches me. And then in DNA Painter, I can view the names in the overlaps, which is the same thing that GEDmatch would do. Another tool to do the same thing. So I'm visual. So having the different tool helps me to better see the alignments of things. Again, how? And that's when I saw, so I could clearly look at this matching, and I started being able to tell cousins, you match me through the Andersons and the Wiggums out of Georgia. And they would search their DNA matches to see if they had any Wiggums or any Hannahs in Jefferson, Georgia, and they did. And I said, I know you would, because the DNA don't lie. It's clarifying. And so we use each other's DNA and trees to help us try to get a bigger picture. One, ancestry is cutting off those centimorgans, so I can't use the true matches that we might share. That's the reason for going into a different tool. But I'm going to debunk that tonight. So DNA Painter has this beautiful chart. And this is the thing, they're trying to tell us, they're trying to help us to understand the challenges with our DNA. We don't understand what they're saying. We don't know how to interpret it. But in DNA Painter, he's using a different website. Blaine Bettinger is using a different website to create this tool for us. And it's going from a close match, our parents, our grandparents, and then it's going from the centimorgans. And it's saying based on the number of centimorgans, a person could be a half first cousin or an eighth cousin. So when you plop the number of centimorgans from your DNA match, so I entered 8. An 8 centimorgan match, and we can see the centimorgans in Ancestry and other platforms. That person could be a half second cousin, a third cousin, a fourth cousin, a fifth cousin, all the way over to an eighth cousin. And before I used to be like, make this make sense. So they're basically saying to you, an 8 centimorgan match you see in Ancestry could be a third cousin, one time removed, or a fourth cousin, or it could be an eighth cousin. So we're researching that fourth cousin position. We're researching that third cousin position. But we're not paying attention to they could be an eighth cousin. So we have to have a better understanding of what the tools are trying to say, but they're not really clear. So the platforms become siloed. GEDmatch, DNA Painter, helpful, not helpful. Especially the further back you go, absolutely not helpful. They don't explain migration patterns, descendant collaboration. They don't provide a great, helpful descendant collaboration. They don't tell you exactly how you may be related to someone. But BTTBW.net aims to bridge the information from those platforms to define these relationships and show them as interconnected historical networks that becomes more useful to us in our research, in what we're trying to achieve. So BTTBW is an acronym for breaking through these brick walls, because that's what we're trying to do. So I created a website, and as I started adding information, I knew it would be best to partner with a solid application that is setting up not just research, but records and defining families. So I am a transcriber for Wikitree, and Wikitree basically said to me they will partner with me. They will let me present my information on my platform. And I almost cried because I tried to reach out to Family Search. I'm too small. I don't bother with the others. Wikitree has volunteers who are purposely researching the enslavers and the records and helping us to see the enslaved names. Now, the challenge with Wikitree, it's very technical. It can be. I'm going to pray that many of my members and many of the people that connect with me, I'm going to guide you. If you do nothing but add your ancestors, African-American ancestors, and the enslaver. If you just go to the enslaver, you don't got to do nothing else. It will help you. But at the end of the day, I'm going to better help you because I'm partnering with them, right? Now, in Wikitree, because I've connected all my ancestors, I now can see that this Gwen Ap Gwynog, born in Wales, 1890, is my 31st great-grandfather. Prior to me building this platform, I was like, what am I supposed to do with that? This is no different than going in Relative Finder. Relative Finder will tell you based on the other people in the application, what are the entertainers you connect to, the presidents you connect to. You see all these amazing connections, and you're like, how? The question is still there. I can know that I'm related to you. The question is how. And to see that it can help me to define my oldest ancestors is great. I still don't know what to do with this information. I didn't know what. So one thing I found, we are not researching our connection to the enslaver as far back as it goes. You will see tonight why that becomes helpful, especially doing enslavement research. But if you're not technical, if you don't have a website, if you don't have the investments, how do you get that information in a place that makes sense? So my ancestor, who was Mariah connects to the Cooks. Aha. We'll see. We will talk. Mariah is from Orangeburg, South Carolina. Her father was George Stratford. His line goes all the way back to Romaine or France, to this Payon Roette in the 1300s. But these people are my ancestors. So now that I clearly see you in a way that makes sense. This is a pedigree view. Now, BTTBW, again, is the bridge that will help you to connect not just with the ancestors, but with the members as well. The first step, the reason why I started with the European ancestors is because they're easy. They're easier. They're documented in Ancestry. They're documented in Family Search. They're documented in WikiTree. They've done an amazing job of documenting their lines. So once we hitch our wagon to the person that is our enslaver ancestor, we connect to you as well. And you will see how. So the first step, I knew I needed to understand, how do I connect? Who are my ancestors through these 6 African-American ancestors who I found their enslavers or parents? Next, the next goal will be, in some point, is to add the Native Americans to the platform. We know we're Native American, the indigenous were here before the Europeans got here. Spain, Mexico, they were here. As those countries invaded the territory and they started having relations with the indigenous, and then they started having relations with the Africans, we have to have all of this information to make this make sense, especially trying to find our ancestors. So documenting the Native Americans who have been documented is one thing. Third, the Europeans who married Native Americans, clearly documented, better documented. So if we can hitch our wagon to the Europeans and then we hitch our wagon to the Native Americans who married the Europeans, that opens up that knowledge of information of how to research it and how to see it. Fourth, indentured servants. Not every African came to America enslaved. Many came here as indentured servants, workers who were with the other white indentured servants, and who was able to live free for a period of time until they started having relations with the European women, or vice versa. So once they started seeing mulatto children, then you're like, what do? We need to change these laws. So we have heard many ways a child obtains the same status as its mother. If the mother was free, the child becomes free. They found very creative ways to delay that freedom, but it didn't matter. Their rightful position was to be freed. So this has helped me to better understand the free people of color that were all the way over there in the mulattoes, all the way over there in Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania. Is helping me to understand why they became free. So we got to hitch ourselves to those people to be able to figure that connection out and to find our way to Africa. Again, European women who had children with Africans. That has been documented many different ways. Some are online. We take that information, we document it, we then can connect our possible connections to them. The enslavers and the enslaved. Now that all that data is in a platform, we will now be able to add the enslaved to the enslavers. And we will now then be able to start tracking that distribution of the slaves from a child to a parent to a grandchild to a nephew. And you will see how BTTBW does that. This is what I've defined as the road to Africa. And it's going to take steps to get there. It's going to take information to get there. But I promise you, utilizing this platform is possible for us to finally start making this make sense. And this is just the same thing in one view. All of the different ways that I'm tracking this information in this one platform. Now, again, why are you here? BTTBW and the HRF, which is the framework, provides a way for end users or members to understand their connection to their DNA matches. The reason I can share this with you tonight, the reason why I'm going to put it on YouTube and share it with everyone, is because I had to do the work. I thank my sister Marty. Marty said, Double, you got to copyright this. You got to do what you got to do. All of these processes are not cheap. But I knew the framework that I was building does not exist anywhere. So BTTBW is a proprietary methodology platform. So the screens I will be showing you, let's forward, have been copywritten. It cannot be reproduced by another platform. They can be excited. They can try to go run, but they cannot build what I have built. They can't. It has now been copywritten. So my platform provides a free and a paid subscription feature. Free membership. So when you create an account and you log in, you can edit your profile. You can contribute to the profile and platform. And what the contribution is, many of you know your enslavers' names. You know where they were born, where they died. All I need to see is the name, birth, and death, and the family search record or the record that you use to see the names of the enslaved. That is one way to help contribute to the platform, and you will see the why. Search collections. I will let you see what I'm providing as a free process for researchers. Hiring genealogists, you know, that is what that is. But the data discovered on the platform is what I'm so excited about showing you tonight. So uploading your tree. So you go in Ancestry, you go to the settings system, the settings, your profile settings, you go to your tree, you go in there. And let me tell you something I discovered once I built this platform. When Annette was my first tester. Annette is rigorous. I love her. Annette added her children. So what happens with Ancestry, when you add your children and you add your spouse and you take that JetCom or that family tree out of Ancestry and you put it in another platform, it rearranges the first person. It's no longer you. It's your child. And so when you look at my platform, you're like, I don't see myself. I don't see my parents, because we don't realize that the other platforms, how they are setting and configuring that data, does not necessarily present itself the way we see it in Ancestry. It was so interesting to see the bugs that comes out of this. So I had to find a way to allow you to change the primary person to be yourself. And you can do that intermittently and not your child or your spouse, different things like that. But this is what the file looks like that you would download from Ancestry, 23andMe, MyHeritage. It all gets zipped into a file. It's just like the other computer-based platforms that you could do the same, build a tree. You can still export a JetCom file. That's what it's called. So at first, all I wanted was your parents, per se. And actually, I didn't, and I'll show you why I wanted your parents. And I didn't use the data. I just wanted you to be able to see your parents and your father's side and your mother's side, because that's how we research. So, but as a free person and you just create an account, you can go into search collections. One of the amazing things I just found, because I had to do it, Africa. Something in my spirit was like, who are these people who were born in Africa and died in America We have to be able to see them. And so the 1850 census, if they were over 100 years old, they were documented. If the 1860 census, if they were over a certain age, they were documented. Then by the time we got to 70 and 80, they were still there. And so if we can say that that person from Africa potentially could be our ancestor if we trace ourselves back correctly, at least we now will be able to see who was from Africa. Now, if they were a part of a census and they were under 100, yes, we don't see the accuracy of the numbers, but this is a baseline. Another thing that I saw, the mortality schedule. If they died the year before the census came out, 1849, 1859, they documented their death. So the mortality schedule for Africa, for those who were born in Africa, I now have added that to my platform. So on my platform, I give you the ability to see a great deal of information organized by country. Because my father's from Jamaica, I needed to be able to see the Barbados and Jamaica. And because of my partnership with Wikitree, where they've already identified a lot, not all, but they have identified a lot of the enslavers, and they have created profiles for the enslaved. And that's what we need to see. Who owned slaves? So Wikitree has documented so much wonderful information, but we're not using the tool. We're not searching in Wikitree. We don't know how to search in Wikitree. And I saw that as a gap. So I asked them, I want to create a bridge from Wikitree to the end user, which is us, and they're doing all this transcription for us, but we're not using it. And now BTTBW can be that platform. So I have the Jamaica, Sierra Leone, records for the Sierra Leone as well, Liberia. Then right as you go under the Jamaica or the countries, I've organized information by state and county. So if your focus is Georgia, in a certain county in Georgia, then Wikitree has records. And if I'm able to find other information that pertains to that county or the state, I provide that as a resource for you as well. All for the purpose of us finding our enslaved ancestor or records pertaining to slavery. Also on the platform, I have records from National Archives, NARA, Library of Congress, all of these other university research collections. The data I provide you is not a link. It's not a link. It's the actual name of the enslaved person. So now if you know you're searching for a particular person and you want to type a name to see if anything connects to them, you will see data. You will see names. You will see information. So the goal was one-stop shop to finding this information. So let's say, let me go back, because if you only create an account and added your tree, that becomes helpful. Added a link to your public tree. That's helpful. Many people have public trees. If they just do that, then you will see why that is so beneficial. It's so beneficial. But if you just want to create an account, don't give me your tree. You can still access the information I just shared. Okay. Paid subscriptions. Now, as a paid person, you not only access everything free, but you now get to access these other collections. Some are free, but you now get to access them in a concise location of all the records. Because, for instance, the WPA Federal Writers Project, I wanted to know, we know that they were individuals who were enslaved, who told their story. And we're in Alabama. So who left Alabama, went somewhere else, Ohio, Texas, Mississippi, but they were from Pike, Bullock, Barber. And did they tell a story? And the way they organized the information, you couldn't just type Bullock and it presented a few names. And some of it wasn't transcribed. Well, Wikitree transcribed every name. I was ecstatic. And then when I researched those names, some were born in Alabama, some told their story in Ohio, but then they died in Texas. They did not die where they told the story. So there is gaps that you will miss. So for the WPA, I separated that data, and if they were from Alabama, those names are in Alabama for us to review for our research, because it will help us to be able to see, did our ancestor tell a story that we can use? But if you want to see every state, every county, now you can do it in one place, cohesively, collectively. So this section provides you the cohesion of that information. Some of you are knowledgeable about the Georgetown University, who sold the 272 slaves, and then they enslaved. Then they actually had two more sales after the 1838 sale. And so there were more people that they sent to Louisiana. If you didn't know, they were supposed to send 272. Some ran away. Well, just because they ran away didn't mean they got away. When those enslavers went back to Maryland, they were like, where's the rest of the count? They're not all here. They had to replace those numbers with someone else. This is all the information I've been learning by going to different groups. But what do you do with that knowledge? I have built an entire platform dedicated to all of the names and family structures for Georgetown University in the 272. Because my ancestor was identified as a possible connection, they couldn't help me to figure out how. I had to do that work myself. So the platform, the goal of it is to give us the tools we need to break through the breakthrough. And I'm going to show you tonight how I was able to find one of my ancestors, who is the ancestor to these people that went to Louisiana. Actually, she actually went to Louisiana. I was able to figure her out based on something my grandmother told me. So nonetheless, when you subscribe, so subscription, $10 a month or $100 a year. $10 a month is $120. $100 a year, you save. You're on here tonight because I consider you founders. The founders have uploaded their JetComs already. They've given me their information already. So many of the people who have already uploaded their information to me, you have free access at least to the end of the year. You are considered a founder, and you will be paying not $100 a year in this January 1st, but $50. Because of you, I have been able to build this platform that you will see, because without you, I couldn't do it. I'm also trying to work with groups as fundraisers, different things that we can do to get the data that we need. So let me go back. So under the researcher section of the site, you get these 4 cards. You don't understand the excitement I have with these 4 cards. Let me break this down for you. I'm going to go into the platform. It's really, let me tell you, don't do this on a phone. You will do it anyway. Go to a library. Please use a monitor or a laptop. The kind of data I research is not phone friendly, and I'm not going to make it phone friendly. We're researching enslavement. We need to see everybody's tree and everybody's data, and you cannot do it on that phone. So the kinship networks. You heard me mention that I found my 31st great grandfather. What does it mean? So what I've done, something my spirit said, go find the oldest ancestor under these names, add them to the platform. And actually where I started was my 6 ancestors, the 6 of them. How do you fall in this list? I need to see you. So once I added the name, you will see a list of surnames. You can search by a person's name. So let's say you only know Major Charles Jones. You would type Charles Jones. You could even type his location. And the platform will tell you his name is connected to this many ancestors, surnames. You click on the surname, and now it presents to you a descendant list. A descendant list is the oldest person and all of their descendants. And I'm doing this from the oldest down to 1870. Number 1. What the number 1 is, because of the founders that uploaded their information or shared their tree with me, I took the enslaver's name, found the enslaver, added the person, the oldest person to the tree, mapped that person all the way down, and connected your enslaver to the surname. So this is the Fitzpatrick surname. So number one is the number of members at the basis as the oldest ancestor in that tree who connects to Fitzpatrick. Florence is her name. She was born in 1500. There's 32 members out of 102 members that have a tree in the platform connect to Florence. 32. All of the names in red are all of the members who connect. Let me tell you something. This is better than GEDmatch. Don't need your DNA. You did the work. You found the record. You found the ancestor, the enslaver. You found his records. Your ancestor is DNA related because of DNA matches. You figured that out. If you have a theory, then you continue to do the DNA match connection to try to validate it and verify it. But for those of us who've done that, all I got to do is connect you to the right ancestor, the right person, the enslaver, down the line. And now that runs you all the way up that tree. Number two, it's called researchers. That's the number 2 line where Florence Fitzpatrick, a daughter, I've connected probably Annette. And there was probably a reason why. So there's 4 researchers, actually. 4 researchers are connected under Florence from the top. So as you drill down the tree, you can see the people who connect at that place, position, or you can just keep expanding. Anywhere a member exists, you just expand. I'm going to show you how you connect as well. The number 3, let me tell you why the DNA is not helping us. The DNA match prediction. After I started building this, the platform was having a problem because it was saying, wait a minute, the person is already in the tree and you want to add them again. I'm like, yeah, because they married each other. It's endogamy. And I just kept hitting endogamy. And so finally it started making sense to me. Yes, there was endogamy in their lines. Endogamy inflates the projection of your DNA. Hypothetically, I'm not a geneticist, but if your DNA centimorgans was 2, maybe it goes to 5 when the relatives married. So it inflates the number. So the match predictions are presenting to us a numerical based on the numbers. It's not taking into account the relationships. So the more endogamy you have in the line, the higher your match becomes presented to you. When it's not close, it's distant. That's why those predictions are not helpful. It's really more distant than it is close. So I decided, let me see everyone who has endogamy. Because if I'm to figure out my match to you, I need to take into account these endogamous relationships. A year ago, I said, African Americans, African enslaved people didn't have endogamy. We didn't purposely marry cousins, but it was already introduced to us. Little did we know. Now, so you get to see endogamy in that tree. Anything purple, those were the people from another country, died in America, considered to be the colonists. Why? Because we know that's where all the deeds started happening. Once you figure out who the colonists are, you can start researching the enslavement, the enslavers, and they're enslaved. So the red is basically from WikiTree, everyone who was an enslaver. It's not only from WikiTree, as I'm finding records that said this person was an enslaver, I give them that tag that says you're an enslaver. And it pops out now. And not only do I identify them as an enslaver, I list the names of the enslaved. And when they gave those enslaved people to person B and person C, the daughter, the son, I copy the number that went to that child with them. This is how we're going to track that distribution of enslaved people across this hierarchical network. Because in order for you to understand your matches that's in Georgia, and I don't have a clue why, we got to track the people. We got to track the network. I'm sorry. I think I spoiled it. So yeah, everyone that's an enslaver is in red. And as I'm finding the names from the probate records, from WikiTree, from other records, I copy those names into here. I'm manually looking at family search records, adding the enslaved to the enslaver. And then once the father gave the enslaved to his children, I copy their portion there. Then when they marry and go to another county, go to another state, you track them that way. So this is what the membership looks like, the member hierarchy. And what it does, anyone that's in green has members connected to them. So it was so cool. The top had 41. Then John Buford had 27. But then his son had 9. I'm like, what's the deal with the numbers? They're not mathing. And that's because some people are connected more than one way in the tree because of endogamy. So now this allows you to see where you're connected, but where you possibly connect to other members, white and black. Members connection. So I show you that there's other members who connect to this surname. Now, every member that has a tree, you're able to see your name and the number of connections you have from your tree to this person. The more I can work with you guys to take your highest surname down to you, the more it starts connecting. So because I do know your name when I connected the first person, but again, they had grandparents and grandparents and grandparents. So my platform knows you're connected, but I might not have manually added you all the way down into the next tree. So I'm having to do that, or I need to get with you to make sure I connect all of your lines down to you. But this is how we're able to figure that out. So Payon Roette is related to my Mariah Stratford and my Wiggum line, Lucretia Wiggum. This is 2 of my ancestors, our descendants under this line. Then there's the enslavers tab that you will see. And what this is, every enslaver that's in this family network who had slaves, enslaved people, and the names of those people that they had and were given. So the goal is when I hit print and you can create a PDF and you want to search for Green Fitzpatrick and how many people was he connected to in this family network, I will be able to see where the distribution went from one person to the next and to the next. And then when I want to connect to a DNA match who is a Fitzpatrick in Texas, I just need to go follow. Let me go back up one. I just need to go back and follow everybody that was in that tree. And I could probably do a control find for Texas. It's about working smarter. As we know, smarter and not harder. But we don't have platforms that's giving this type of information to us. Now, the AI features I've added to the platform, I just shared, endogamy is now exposed. This was a surname Tudor. They were born in 1457. This is all of the endogamous connections that go down, and I haven't even hit America. This is still in England. And the purpose of this is there may definitely be researchers who want to research this. No one is looking at African Americans, endogamy, and how it impacts our health, how it's impacting us. But this becomes a research platform that exposes that, and it makes it helpful for that research. This is a surname, John Gray. 4 of my ancestors were cousins. Joseph Fitzpatrick, George Stafford, who's my Stratford line, Joseph Wiggum, who is my Wiggum line that connects to Anderson, and Thomas Prather, who literally, Anna Prather, she was brought from, Thomas was in Virginia, his son was in Georgia, he went to Florida, then he came to Barber, and he died in Barber, I believe. But Anna Prather was this daughter, and her sister both came to Barber. All 4 of these people were cousins. Mine was blown. Didn't think, I never thought to give that a thought. But now when I look at these hierarchical lines, Bing, 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 bang. You are all cousins. We didn't know. And of course, they're going to be on your mama's side and your daddy's side when they're in the same family. So it's going to explain those double connections, especially through the European line. So now it's going to help make that European connection make sense. And then, of course, we got to drill into the part African some of them had. And I believe, in all honesty, that might be going back to that indentured servant connection. But this helps to break out and expose that information. Now, this is a little tool I had to add. I had to make it available. Nobody is doing it. You look at your DNA match, and I look at your tree. A surname might make sense. I might be guessing one name. I don't have a clue. I just walk away. Now with my platform, you copy that pedigree chart. You copy the flyout of the pedigree chart, and you get the next one, and you get the next one. And after you add all those images or PDFs of that person, and you tell it to evaluate, it's going to compare every name here to every surname I have in the platform. And it's going to tell you your probability of how you connect to that name. So now this particular person doesn't connect to me just on the Go name. They connect to me on their Armstrong name, their Key name, their Wells name, their Riddle name. And this was my DNA match I shared earlier. He was from England and Ireland. I don't have to guess anymore. So I'm giving you a tool based on your subscription to be able to do just this. Copy that pedigree chart of that person you really want to break through. Now, I can't fully do this for the African American connection yet, because I need to be able to know who's your enslaver connected to you. Because once I connect the enslaver to your line, and I can see all of the people that were connected, now we can try to start tracking where did the slaves come from, and who did the slaves go to. And that's how we start making sense of the African American side and the enslaver side. We got to pull out the enslaved first. And so that's why this is the first basis I'm starting with. Then I give you maps. You might be printing 200 pages when you start finding 31 grandparents, but it makes sense. My prayer is I'm going to present it to you in a way you can just bing, bing, bing. And then I think I'm going to create a report that not only does that, but it also may highlight the enslaved that definitely exist. So this is the same tree, a different way to see the same information, but you get reports that you're able to print. You're able to save. And you're also going to get reports that show you, like, there's a particular report that says, if I'm related to Payon, how many other members in the platform are connected to them as well? Better than JetMatch. Because what I will tell you is my members have the ability to add their JetMatch ID. We can now get into a JetMatch session. Go in and type our group, our IDs, research where is that DNA lining up, because that's the chromosome and the segment where we know is the Payon line. It clearly is about to make this make sense when you're researching in JetMatch as well. And you don't need me. The members, many of them have uploaded their JetMatch ID. It's already there. You now have the research you need to be able to continue it. I offered this a few months back, and this still becomes an option for you. And I'm here to help. If you love to know how to do it, you get to be able to create a couple of 3-minute videos of your ancestor telling their story using AI. And I've created many videos of this. And instead of writing a book, I used AI to choose a face, choose a name, and I was able to create a video of them telling their story. And it's just another creative thing that I have used, I have done, but I make that available to you as well. And last but not least, now it's time for the Q&A.